Welcome back to Fish Bites. This episode, I want to talk about fish eating fish. And you know that the fish have basically a collider object inside their mouth that detects when it comes in contact with a plant or with meat. Now I have it also checking to see if it comes in contact with a fish. And if it does, then it looks at that collider object that it collides with, so it can look up the fish that it's hitting, so it can find out what the size of the fish is that it's hitting. And so before I did any programming to have it eat the fish, I wanted to double check that the mouths of one fish, when it bites another fish, are picking up on the right information. So what you see in front of you right there is the console panel doing some debugging as a fish swims around. So for instance, fish number 18 has a size of 22.45, and it currently is biting a fish that has a size of 9.97. And so once I got those sizes, then I can decide what to do with those sizes. And because really I need to have some limitation. So a big fish can't just swallow a fish the same size as it or bigger than it. So it's got to be some kind of a ratio there. So the next thing that I did was I created a static variable, a couple global variables here. So the first one is this fish ratio fish size can be eaten. Basically, that's a percentage. So a fish is, let's say a fish is size 10. If the ratio size can be eaten would be, say, 0.5, means you can only eat a fish that's half its size. If you make this ratio very small, then it's only going to eat much smaller fish. If I made this ratio 1, it could eat a fish the same size of itself, which doesn't make any sense. So I had to create this ratio. I made it a global variable in my SD class. I point to it from my global data class, where I can actually set it in the inspector. So that's the first thing I had to create. I also created another static variable. This one is going to determine how much energy a fish gets from eating another fish. So it's going to be, so let's say a fish eats a fish that has energy level of 20. So does the fish that's eating it get a full 20 energy units into itself from eating a fish that had energy 20? Probably not, because it's going to take some amount of energy for the fish that eats it to break the fish down to extract that energy. So so that's what this ratio is for. So maybe it would be 0.5, 50%. So if the fish has a 20 energies in its body, it gets eaten. The fish that ate it might gain 10 energy from eating it. But that's controlled by this ratio right here. Okay, so to use those static variables, in the I've got a script called gullet, which is essentially the same thing as it's a throat, but like a mouth script. Essentially, could have called it mouth, but for whatever reason I called it gullet. So it's a weird word. Anyway, within that I keep track of like what I look at the collider of the fish to see what its mouth touches. So I add, this is where I do the plants and I do the meat. So I added another one where the hit collider has a game tag of fish. That means it's biting into a fish. And I set this eating collider set to the hit collider from the collision. Notice I've got this is eating bool here commented out. And here's the reason why. Is eating equals true means a fish is taking bites of meat or taking bites of a plant if it's there. But the eating of fish is not about taking bites and making things smaller, but it's about eating the entire fish at once. So there's actually a bug when I left that in. After it ate its first fish, it never ate anything else because is eating was always true. I don't need to set is eating is true because it just eats the fish all at once and that's it. So the is eating variable is to keep track of if it's currently eating something because it's colliding with it. It's taking bites of a plant or bites of a meat because it's actually sitting on top of it. So the initial collision is still true, still on the collider. Anyway, so the eating collider, then I said an eating object is the collider object. So I can use this eating object to look at the collider object of the fish that's being bitten. I log all that using that right there, and I actually changed this a little bit. I created a new method in my methods called log fish to console. So basically it's just like the logging to console that I always have been used, but I didn't want everything to get written to the console. So now it only writes to the console if, where is it here? It's hanging off the edge of the screen. Basically, there's two parameters: the text I want to send to the console, and then a what this fish number is. But it won't display it to the console. In the log fish to console checks to see that the fish that sent this to that script matches the selected fish. So when you select a fish, then all this logging starts for that fish, and you're only seeing one fish's logs to the console essentially. So the console's not so overwhelming. That's what we saw a second ago at the beginning of what's going on there, if what the fish size is and everything else. Then what we have is a check right here to see if the eating object, in other words, the fish that's been bitten, if its size is less than the size of the fish that's biting it times the ratio of fish size can be eaten. So if my fish is a size 20 fish, and then I'm setting my ratio to 0.5, so something has to be half as small for it to eat it, then that's 20 times 0.5, 10. So the eating object size of the fish that's going to be eaten will need to be 10 or smaller, or it cannot be eaten. If it is 10 or smaller, then it's going to get eaten. It'll go inside here. It'll send this message to the console. The little fish can be eaten, and then we call it the eat fish script. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything, and the fish just kind of bounce off of each other. Their body colliders have rigid bodies, so they will bounce off each other and not do anything. I'm going to change that though. After a bit, I'm going to change it so if the fish is too small to get eaten, but still the fish's mouth was on that fish's body, it couldn't eat it because it was too big. But darn it, it's going to take a bite out of it. It's going to cause some energy. It's going to cause some injury to the fish. So the fish will be able to bite bigger fish. A little fish could even bite a bigger fish and cause it some amount of injury in terms of it's going to lose some energy. So fish could theoretically, a small fish could kill a bigger fish if they bite them enough to kill them, and by killing them, then the meat that they generate will then become available to be eaten. So let's take a quick look at the eat fish script. Okay, so if a fish is small enough to be eaten by a bigger fish, then the bigger fish calls the eat fish script. The first thing it does, though, it checks to see, is this fish too full to eat? And if it is, that's a script. If that method returns true, the fish is too full to eat, then it won't eat the fish and nothing will happen. So we'll return out of this script and do nothing. The fish too full to eat looks at the energy of the fish, and if its energy is 95% or higher of its max energy, then we would say that fish is full. It's stuffed from whatever else it's already eaten. No point in eating this fish because it can't really use the energy anyway. But if it's less than 95%, then it can eat the fish and get some benefit from its energy. So what happens next is, for this fish gets energy added to it based on the energy of the fish that's being eaten times that ratio energy from the fish from that's one of the static variables that we just created. Also, as this fish is gaining energy, I'm going to add that energy to the total energy of the system, so I can track the population of the total energy. Actually, I think that's maybe I've got a problem here. I'll have to think about this for a second. Oh, I'm sorry. The add energy script actually adds the energy to the population and to the fish itself. It takes care of that. What this next line is actually the energy of the dead fish is being subtracted from the population when that fish dies. So half of its energy is just going to waste. The other half of its energy is going to the fish that's eating it. So the net result is the population, the energy within the population actually decreases when a fish is eaten, which makes sense because energy is often wasted in biological processes. And then the last step is the eaten fish. We call a script on the eaten fish, which is called kill fish. And what true says is that's a new kill fish already existed before I did this. Whenever any fish dies in the fish script, there's the kill fish script, which will kill its own fish. I've added the true. True is a bool, and it says this fish was eaten by another fish. If its kill fish is false, the fish died from lack of energy. Dying of energy equals 0. So that pretty much takes care of it. And most of the other things I had already built about the fish and how it dies and everything takes care of it. So I feel like the modularity of my programming is pretty good to where once I've built something called kill fish, I'm able to pretty easily reuse it for the purpose of having a fish be killed from being eaten. The only difference is I did need to add this bool here, and I can talk about why I had to add that modification to the killfish script here. So here's our killfish script that's within our fish class, and notice we've got the bool there is eaten. Is the fish eaten or not? So the first thing that we do here, this fish is dying, so we decrement the current fish count by 1. We destroy the gullet on this fish so it can't eat anything else as it's being destroyed. That would make no sense. We set a flag is dead equals true. We set the thrust on this fish to 0 so it no longer can swim. We cancel any invokes that may be being run by this fish at the moment. And the reason I created the is eaten bool here, the parameter for this method, is I needed to check to see if it was eaten or not. If is eaten is false, in other words, this fish was not eaten by another fish, so I'm going to spawn meat. So then I do the invoke to spawn the meat 1 second in 1 second. But if it's not, so in other words, if it was eaten by a fish, then I'm just going to go straight to destroy fish, which will destroy this game object. Here we see destroy fish. What does destroy fish do, in case you're curious? Well, first of all, it looks to see, is there a camera attached to this fish? Because we have to keep track of if the fish that dies had the camera tracking it, then by destroying the fish that had the camera attached to it would also destroy the main camera, and we would lose all visibility into the simulation. So we have to be very careful there that we take the camera, disconnect it from this fish before we destroy the fish game object. That's what we're doing here. We're grabbing the camera and temp camera, if we can, if it's a component. If it's true, then we'll do the text right. We do the code right here. We set selected fish equal to -1, so it's no fish is selected because this fish that was selected is dying. We're going to close the fish panel, displaying the information for that selected fish. And we're also going to do this disconnect camera method, which is going to take the camera that was connected to this object, and it's going to reset the main camera just to be centered above the entire world. And the last step then is we're going to destroy this game object. So the fish then that's eaten is now completely destroyed without spawning any meat. So let's take a look at how all that looks in the simulation. All right, back over here in Unity, you'll notice we've got our two static variables here. We have the ratio of fish size that can be eaten. I'm setting that to half. So if the fish is half as small as the fish, it can be eaten. I think I might actually make that smaller. But for now, we'll leave it for this. And it's going to get half the energy of the fish will be digested into it. So those are the two static variables we've set, both of them to half. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so we're tracking this big pink fish right here. And see if it can eat a fish smaller than itself, if it comes across any here. I'm zooming in a little bit. Okay, it's eating some plants. I think I came up behind him but couldn't eat him. There's a purple fish along the wall there, but it doesn't see it. Doesn't get to it. Once some more baby fish are born, there'll be a lot more to eat. Okay, that fish is obviously too big, and we can't eat an egg yet, so that egg survived. Okay, that guy just got eaten. Too small, and he's instantly gone. And I'm sure our energy would have jumped. I didn't notice it. Our energy is 60% right now for this guy. Staying about 60 from eating plants. Maybe he can eat this green fish if it doesn't turn around in time. Turning around. There's a little fish. Ate that one. Doesn't get a lot of energy from the baby fish, but they're certainly edible. But this little yellow fish, I missed him. Oh, there he goes. He got eaten. The yellow fish swam right into his mouth. Obviously, the fish are not intelligent yet. They don't see anything. They're swimming randomly. So hopefully that'll change as they can learn to see. But it looks like our eating of fish is working. So that's good to see. And I think that's going to be it for today. So hope you enjoyed this. And I'll just let this go here for a little bit. Let's speed it up here. Let it go crazy. Remember, at this point, some fish are spinning half speed. Or no, some fish are swimming at full speed, and then of course they all have different speeds now. Preferred speeds are all different now. So some are going faster than others. Some are slower.